Hey everyone, so we're gonna go ahead and try to make a few, well actually just two models. One's gonna be a really quick model that is commonly referred to as a sketch model. And the purpose of these models is to kind of let to be really messy and really dirty and just get the idea across as quickly as possible and to be able to do tons of little iterations as you're kind of going along. So the intention is to kind of look at the form of your building or maybe certain openings in the building and kind of how those will affect the human experience through the building. A quick and easy way to do those models would be to just use any kind of material that you have lying around. For example, just a Ziploc container like this. So we can just go ahead and start using it. We'll be using the Logan ruler. And again, what Jason iterated before, we always want to be using the side that has the little ledge, not the side that has the dimensions on them. So we'll go ahead and we'll use our open knife. So first we have a scrap piece of material like this and we can try to basically square it up. So we know that we have a right angle somewhere. So we're going to set our ruler. We're going to push some force down onto the ruler right in the middle. And then slowly, without too much pressure, just go along the piece with your knife. And it's better to do several passes as opposed to trying to really dig your knife into there and force it through. You get a cleaner cut and it's a lot safer. There's less chance of you slipping because you're applying too much force. So once we've got one straight edge, what we'd like to do is establish a right angle. So we can use a square to sort of draw that out. So we want to line that up with one of the edges. You'll pull your line down to establish that right angle. We'll go ahead and do the same thing, set our Logan ruler on that line and cut straight down. So there we go. So once we have that sort of right angle established, now we can start using maybe another type of ruler to measure out certain dimensions that we want. So let's say we want a piece that's 10 centimeters by 5 centimeters, let's say. So we can line those two up. And then another way is, again, you can use your square to set that onto that straight edge again. Draw that line. So these two lines should be parallel. And then we can measure up 5 centimeters from here and connect those two lines that we drew. All right, so this is fairly basic stuff that we're talking about, but we'll get into something a bit more intricate afterwards. So again, we use the Logan ruler to make these cuts. We'll line it up to the line, pull across, try to do light passes just to get through the material easier. There we go. Now we have a rectangle, kind of the starting block. And basically the idea behind a sketch model is to try to just do this as quickly as you can. So we'll grab some tape that we have lying around. We'll tape it onto our pieces. And this is going to help act as kind of like a hinge or something to clamp your material. So then we'll line up these two lines. And once we have that established, we can fold that over to give us a right angle. And once we have that, then we can use our glue gun to put a little bead of glue running down there. Once that's complete, I should have done this earlier, but we'll also grab a long piece of tape to try to keep this at a 90-degree angle. So once you have that, you can set that aside, let it start drying, and then maybe create the other L-shaped portion to finish off the box. The point of a sketch model is just to quickly kind of get ideas across. So a little example would be something as simple as this, right? So this is a piece of cardboard where we've just cut a slit into it with our knife, and we've cut this zigzaggy shape in there as well. And then it's just that easy to just cut out a piece of Bristol board, and you can slide that piece in there. And now you've created this little sketch model where you've established these two walls that create a kind of like a corridor here. So you're basically, the idea behind the building is that you're funneling people into this corridor, and when they get to the end, they're exposed to some view, whatever it may be, right? The nice thing about models like this is that you can kind of quickly think about it, and if you're thinking maybe the view out to this side isn't what you really want, so what would happen if you pulled this wall back a little bit, and now what you've created is more of an opening that points in a different direction. And making little quick sketch models like this really helps you quickly get your idea across and quickly kind of visualize yourself in this space and understand how people are going to feel as they transition through the various spaces in your buildings. So that's a quick and easy one. We generally use just a regular masking tape. The cheaper, the better, to be honest. The cheaper it is, the less sticky it is generally, and it kind of helps in situations like this when you're using cardboard and you don't really want the tape to stick on there permanently, and you want to be able to just use it as kind of a clamping system. So right now the hot glue has dried, so now I can kind of remove this tape, and if it was a really strong adhesive tape, it would start ripping the cardboard. But basically the cheaper it is, the kind of the better. You can use painter's tape. Don't use duct tape, or don't use electrical tape. Those probably aren't the best options. You want something that'll go on, hold the pieces together, but then be able to come off pretty easily as well, right? And now that's a nice strong joint. So something like this would eventually kind of be able to transition into some type of structure like what we have here, right? So this is a quick kind of sketch model where we've established some type of roof or ceiling condition. There's a wall on one side and two columns, right? And this is kind of a great way to start, to kind of get an idea of what your building's gonna look like. Oh, here's a few examples actually. So painter's tape, this regular masking tape, those work great. Scotch tape might not be the best option, but you can. It's best to just experiment. It might be a little too sticky, but it might work as well. We have a kind of like a craft tape. This is a relatively heavy duty tape. This is something that you don't really want to use. It has a really strong adhesive, and if you put it on a piece of cardboard, you grab something, chances are if you put it on there and really place it on there, it'll probably rip off some of the cardboard on there. But yeah, any kind of tape that has a decent hold but can still come off pretty easily. So painter's tape or masking tape is your best bet. Now that we've established this sketch model, another really useful thing to make would be just a little scale person. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's just a little person cut out of cardboard to the right scale on a little pedestal. And you can place that person inside your structure and kind of look around and see how things compare in terms of scale and in terms of how this person is going to experience the space as they pass through it. I think the most important thing about model making is to try to kind of throw yourself into this little piece that you've created and visualize the experience within it. So now we're going to try to move on to the next more refined model. So these sketch models are great to get your idea across, but eventually we want to get to a point where we can have a more of a presentation style model. We'll be making out of cardboard. So any type of corrugated cardboard, like a cardboard box that you get from Amazon, would work great. It doesn't necessarily have to be this. You guys can use whatever you can find, but this is what we have on hand, and we'll just go ahead and use this. So again, same kind of process that we did before. On this piece, we already have an established right angle corner. So we'll do the exact same thing. We'll measure off a certain distance on both sides, draw our geometry. Actually, I might as well just do this so you guys can see this one more time. So here, I'll measure out a certain distance here, a certain distance at the very end, and then we'll measure out two pieces here, 1, 2. Dimension doesn't really matter for these purposes, but whatever you need to cut, that's the size you cut it to. And then try to be efficient with what you're cutting. So if you're cutting 2 walls that are the exact same height, then try to cut a strip that's that height of that wall. And then you can cut that strip into smaller sections to create the various walls that you have in your space. So we'll go ahead and make this cut. So cardboard, especially with this kind of cardboard, you really want to do light passes and do several passes. So that first pass basically just cuts off this top paper layer, and the second pass will pull through, it'll cut a little deeper, and then the final pass should get us all the way through the material. Right? And there we go. We have our one strip that's going to be, in our case right now, the roof of our building. So now we're going to go ahead and measure out the other dimensions along here. Right, so now once we've established one side, we can go ahead and cut it to length now. We'll go ahead and place our ruler down. Again, especially when you're cutting a long strip like this and you don't have much surface area on the ruler, really take your time, because if you really try to go through it in one pass, chances are this thing's going to just rotate on you, and you might cut yourself. So again, take your time, do really gentle passes a few times until you get through. So there, we have one wall, and go ahead and cut the second one. There we go. So now we have 3 pieces, all identical. Now we're going to try to basically glue these pieces together. So there's a few options that you can do. You can glue the 2 pieces directly together like this, which would be referred to as a butt joint in woodworking. The downside of this is that you have this corrugation that's exposed, and aesthetically, some people might not find that pleasing. They might not find it to look like a refined model. So what we're going to try to do is a lap joint, meaning that we're going to try to remove a portion of the material here so that all we're left with is this craft paper on top, and that'll overlap our joint and hide the corrugation. So I'll show you how to do that.